So, you know the regular lingo. If you wonder why
Have we
there's
got any
two
viewers?
of me, I'm sorry.
Have we got any viewers yet?
Nope, not yet. Well, probably, but the algorithm hasn't hit yet. So, and I used up a bunch of notifications today. I got to start being more strategic with my notifications. I burn them up quick, and then when I got something important to say, I don't have anything to notify anybody. I wish I could, send a smoke signal or something. We got 8 people now. They're coming in. Oh, sheesh. So,
Well, they're probably over listening. They're probably all over listening to. They're listening to Mr. SHIIII.
Yeah.
And we go again.
I don't know what just happened. Yeah, it's back on. That was weird. Smoke signal and she appears. Hello, Cher.
That was weird.
I've learned a lot. How you doing? That was really weird. It just kicked us off the stream, guys.
Oh. Hi, Cher.
Hello, Tennessee. Hey, Tennessee Shine. Mahala Hethorn. Yeah, no, I've been talking, and my criminalist friend and I, we just were really on a roll, and we're like, hey, man, we're just going to kind of bring this out. So sorry about that. We weren't trying to cut in on Voices at all. We were hoping that we could capitalize on the fact that Voices had everybody tied up. They could see us afterwards. But I want to introduce the lovely Aussie. She is coming from the UK.
No, Australia.
Well, I was trying to covert your location.
Oh, whoops. UK.
The UK, yeah. So I guess you guys, you can see from the title, what builds a suspect. Stats, science, and other shit. Hit the like button. Yeah. Hit the like button. So yeah, what builds a suspect? So tonight, what we're gonna do some focusing on suspectology, and I don't want that to be confused with profiling, because I'm not qualified to profile. What I am qualified to do is to read off the different subsets and details in identifying characteristics of a suspect. So now I will tell you that Aussie has hey Lizzie, has a much grander understanding, seeing as she's done this quite a lot longer. Hold up, I need a pen and a notebook. Okay, I love to hear that. What we'll start with is just suspectology, the formula. So what suspectology is the development of suspects. It's an evaluation of the crime scene for the presence or absence of probative evidence. Okay. Now,
probative.
Correct.
Sorry. Correcting your English now.
Crime assessment.
It's the Queen's English.
It's the Queen's English. Probative. So the crime assessment, which is the first, well, I don't know what that stuff is popping up over there. It really grabbed me. The first subset is crime assessment. It is an evaluation of the crime scene for the presence of or absence of probative evidence. Do you have anything to add to that, Aussie? I think that's the general the topic of it. That's the assessment.
Correct, but what's probative evidence? That's probably a good thing to start on. What is probative evidence?
The lingo. There we go.
Start that one. My basic understanding is probative, meaning when you probe into it, what does it tell you? Does it give you any clues? So probative evidence is probably good clues.
a particular position or to persuade as to the truth of an allegation. The probative value is the relative weight of the particular evidence. So that is going to be more on the evidentiary side, of course. I mean, as far as physical evidence, not probably necessarily forensic or, statement evidence. Fair enough?
Physical evidence is forensic, but everything else is circumstantial. So, yes,
Correct.
it is. But actually, probative, I think, refers to circumstantial evidence, whether you can probe into it and make assumptions from it, basically.
Right. That will, continue to lead you on. It says here, not
Correct.
surprisingly, a fact is of consequence if it is material. The evidence offered to prove the existence of the contract, a material fact, must be probative to that point. That is the evidence that must have some tendency to show that a contract exists. So if, you can get the gist of that if you apply it to our situation here. Now, back to the suspectology in regards to profiling. Suspectology in terms of profiling is a projective process of looking for probabilities related to the type of unknown individual who may commit this type of offense. Offenders implied, probable behaviors, mental health status, etc.
All right. So this is what I'm thinking. All right. Don's got an alibi. So boop, rule him out. We know that alibi's solid. Everyone's running around in circles. I don't know much of anything with that, but we do know that SHIIII has verified Don has an alibi. His boss isn't just giving him an alibi because he's his mate. He's giving him an alibi because he's got the alibi. The fact that Don's sweating on keeping... Right, because Don's sweating on keeping his job at the moment. So, saying, oh, he's his mate, he'll just say anything. Well, that doesn't really ring true now, does it? So if Don's sweating on his job, then I don't think he's just giving him an alibi for the fun of it. But
no, I don't think if Don is legitimately worried about losing his job from his employer, that employer, if he's willing to fire Don over all this stuff, he's not willing to lie for him. That's my take on that. That's exactly. I think that's good social dynamics. Now we this is
Don's out. That's he's not even in the picture. Let's move on, Candace. Well, let's say Chris cleared Candace.
Yes.
We already believe Candace anyway. But their very first interview, they weren't looking for backup or for confirmation or giving each other weird glances about whether they're getting the stories right or, you know what I mean? Like there was none of that stuff in the first interview. So, how they talked, I don't think that that's a big drama to me personally. I don't believe that this science behind the actual word a specific person might use has any bearing on any crime whatsoever because, over here in Australia, we speak the Queen's English. Over there in America, you got the North, you got the South, you got the West. It's all different dialects, different ways of speaking, different trendy words and so on and so forth. So I don't know that has a lot of bearing on anything at all. So Candace is out. Don's out. What's next?
Well, look at the suspectology. What that does leave is I meant to have this pulled as well. Hold on just one second, guys. Where is my Google Earth?
Something we were talking about just before was so this situation. Let's say someone, Don's mentioned a revenge situation. So let's talk about the male and female aspects of like a revenge situation. Like, in my opinion, a woman is more likely to steal your kid just to see you suffer. Whereas I think a man is more likely to steal your kid and let you know that it's him that did it because he's all up in your face and wants you to know that's him doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like that was just one sort of theory, but let's expand on that.
Yeah. Let me pull up the area again. I like keeping folks. So this is Don's property here. I like having this up just as reference for people who have a hard time visualizing, where we're at logistically. And for me too,
Yep.
it helps me. It helps me identify, a little better what I'm looking at here. So here we are here. This is
Okay,
Don's.
grandma's. I don't know that grandma's like a danger to the kids. You know, grandma's got to be able to run as fast as the kids if she wants to get hands on them for starters.
Yeah. Not only that, but she's kind of sequestered in a sense that she spends when she's around the family, she spends her free time kind of in her own quarters. So I don't know. Sounds like from something I heard that she cooks her own meals in there and yada yada. There is that separation from Grandma Candace in regards to living in the house, right? She is the physical disconnect from her being in the house. But no, I do want to piggyback on. I want to piggyback on what you said about the female being the more candidate to just sort of snatch a child and claim responsibility or really
vindictiveness.
Just out of us, it kind of completes the fantasy for someone to not know who done this, right? As they would prophetically say, they don't know who done this. So, when you start to think about all the plausibilities of these, you really have to try to narrow down who has accessibility to the child and the family. And one of the strange things, now that you brought this to the forefront, strange things that I find, okay, Lizzie, one of the strange things I find really interesting was that there had been quite this of communication between Allie and Candace, and then all of she's the end of a smoking gun right back into the situation here. And not only that, but she we know from the depositions, that there was some movements, some physical movement involved with when they pulled back up. As far as Candace, did she see the baby or did she not? You can ask different people and get a different variant. So she starts to look and has looked, I think, like someone that, you could put on a list of suspects, but, might have a hard time. What do you think about that?
Well, to be honest, I didn't take much notice of her. I didn't really listen very hard to her, what do you call it, deposition to Chris, because I automatically got the impression that she was just being vindictive, and so I sort of switched off. And there were some things that she said where I just got the whole pot calling the kettle black kind of impression from her comments. So right. I didn't really listen very hard to what Ali had to say. I just felt like it was very vindictive. And so maybe I need to go back and have another closer listen to everything that she actually did say.
I think that's awesome that you're willing to go back and give her another circle back and look at her again, because that's the great unbiased mind of Aussie. But I'll tell you that I think, if I don't want to speak for everyone in the community, but I would say it's probably the majority that thinks that she's a bit of a weirdo. And I think that there's a lot of people that have maybe potentially already wrote her into the script. Like, this lady, we can't clear her end of minds, because nothing was really cut and dry about her. Do you agree?
Well, yeah, that was the impression that I got. There was just there was a lot of I can't think of the word. My brain's gone blank for some reason. I know the word I'm trying to think of. Well, there's a lot of hypocritical things that she said. But, I think I need to go back and have another listen to, and just sort of, because I know more about the story too now, so that sort of makes a difference if you go back and have another listen. I circled back on Hunter a couple of times to listen to what he's saying. He sounds coached to me.
Yes.
Sounds like he's just whatever Mum wants him to say, he'll say, and Mum's making up half the shit because she wasn't even dragging herself off the bloody bed to go out and see anything going on. You know what I mean?
Right, but she that she went up there and she witnessed XYZ, but then you have other depositions, saying something different.
Right. The takeaway from Chris's interview. My takeaway from Chris's interview was that she and Hunter, if you listen carefully, they have more or less corroborated that Summer was alive when Candace left their house. They've more or less corroborated that fact that Summer was asleep on the back seat when they left. Like, there was no visual, physical signs that they felt they should worry about, if that makes sense. So yeah,
initially
that was what I got. That was my total takeaway.
Initially, she did make that statement, but then when she was questioned subsequently, she said, well, now that I think back on it, I think she could have been, and then everyone knows what she said after that. But there was just a lot of contradictions in their depositions. And I hate to call them that, but is that not what they were? Aussie? They were depositions. I mean, if stand and say anything different than what they've said on YouTube, there's a problem.
It's the questioning style, like it's the interview style. Like what Cher and Mr. Cher are doing is just let Don speak his mind and say and encourage him, and give him a bit of backup and say what he wants to say. That's not a deposition. That's just Don being free to speak. And the style that Chris was using was definitely deposition style, like interrogation style.
Facts.
Certainly the good cop, bad cop routine, except he's all by himself, so he's just got the good cop routine.
Right, but I mean, Aussie and I, we were speaking earlier, and I said that the real travesty of this, of course, is the disappearance and abduction of Summer. But the other travesty is that I would automatically, almost with 100% certainty, that whomever, if this ever comes to a criminal phase, that person's already lost their shot at a jury trial. There's just no way. No defense attorney would come in there and say, hey, you need to still try to, we still need to try to poll these people and elect them and try to find a jury. Like it's no, that's not the way. So, the social media has already dampened the sort of justice that we can get. I see you on the case. Just email me, would you? It is Altitude, AITUDE, films, FILMZ, gmail.com. Do you have anything to add to that, Aussie?
Sorry, I was reading the message and going to tell you that someone was telling you. Yeah, sorry, I missed what you said. Not paying attention.
Well, look at this real quick. And I think that this is, we are assessing right? We are not experts. Profiling is something that I feel like I would never feel confident enough to call myself. So no, I'm not a profiler, but what we are doing, in fact, is we are assessing. We're assessing the suspectology, which I believe is perfectly fine for layman's to do. So the key
We're just looking at the possibilities, I guess.
Go ahead.
All the different possibilities. Because everybody else is like strapping the bloody Candace and Don to death, and anything that can be said is being said about that. So let's just move past that and talk about the other possibilities, because I think there are other possibilities, and I think a lot of people are following some of the other possibilities. Like the dog trail. Could somebody have snuck up that dog trail?
Hold
on.
For those that aren't aware of where the dog trail is, let me go ahead and make you aware of that. So, and let me spin it around. I like to get acclimated this way from Ben Hill Road, which actually this is pertinent to it. So the dog trail is right in here. Okay.
Yep, you can sort of see the part in the trees there. So could somebody have snuck up the dog trail there and lured the little girl out, like she might have been out on the back patio already, lured her over? I would say, yeah, that's not hard to do. Where I live on a property very similar to this. It's right up the top of the mountains. It's a dead end road. There's only 2 more houses past me. And I've also got a creek on my property as well. Not that you could drown in it, but I've got a creek. But I have heard a little girl's glory box tinkling all the way up the creek from 2 doors down, like 2 properties down. So it's probably if I walked along the creek, it would be about 800 meters to a kilometer down towards the last neighbor's property. So I heard a glory box down there. So obviously he had his little girl down the creek, and she had a little glory, whatever it was she was tinkling. And I've gone out there looking to see what the hell is this noise I can hear. So obviously, if you wanted to lure a little girl out, well, obviously something like that would lure her out. So maybe calling out to them,
and we
waving a key. She said, yeah.
We that because if they were here at the camp, I want to point out, guys, you look down here when I move the cursor, that's the elevation. So if we put the elevation right at the you're looking at 1373. Now, just to show you what the difference is from the house to the trailer, look at that, 1370. So if you're to go from here down to the road, look at the elevation change. You've got, this is a very steep embankment from the house, and it's not, short. It's a short trek from here to here. But this down here is where.
So what you're saying is, in 2 seconds flat, you're out of sight because you're down the hill.
That's it. You get down into here, and you're out of sight. In fact, look at here. This is the entrance to Don's driveway. Comes up and around, right? Yeah. So even, like just everything around here is, it's so desolate. But so what we do know definitively is that the track came down the dog path and it picked up and stopped here. So again, Austin and I were talking privately about what would it take. And she brought up the glory box scenario. Here we call it a music box. What would it take to a girl from up around this house to down here, right? What would that take? And we talked about it. It would take, it would certainly have to be something that would be appealing enough that there would be no talking, because again, explain to you, we don't get of what the top looks like. We don't know what it looks graphically unless we have tools like this. When you look, it just looks right. But what you have to know is this area is perfectly suited for acoustics. So if they were here and she had went down this hill and done any sort of heard. So that sort of changes the suspectology too. It potentially could. Are you looking at someone that was able to successfully use the child away from here? Or is it someone that knows the child? There are many different variables comes to trying to build the suspect now, right? So you could, and I'll let Aussie explain more when she says Don and Candace have been cleared. Let me tell you, there are ways that you can be cleared legally, but not verbally, right? There are ways such
Well, he's
as...
got an alibi. He's got a rock
Correct.
solid alibi.
And he's in the free world. He's
Don
not
has.
locked up.
Right, he's got a rock solid alibi. So if they're going to try and put him in jail for something, they need to have more. They need to have something to tie him to something that he did to the child. Like, for example,
Something specific.
right. So there was a case just recently that Mike King covered. I can't remember the name of the guy. I do this every time, and I'm sorry, I forget names. But basically, he his girlfriend, they just broke up. She just found out she was pregnant, and they broke because he didn't want a kid. And then next minute she's disappeared. So he ended up being tried and found guilty of her murder, even though they have found no body. They have found other evidence. They found the cadaver dogs hid on his car, his boot, and his home, his grandparents or his parents' home. So the amount of evidence I think there was some evidence actually in the car, like DNA evidence, her hair or something like that in his boot.
Yeah.
Just once you got that sort of stuff, you can say, well, all right, now the alibi doesn't look so rock solid. Right now, Don's got a rock solid alibi and there's nothing else. There's no other probative evidence that says otherwise. And I think the same thing goes for Candace and Grandma, because Hunter and Ali have both sort of corroborated that she was alive when she left their house. So, right. There's no other there's no other evidence to say that those corroborations are not correct.
Correct. There's nothing disputing them.
Right. There's nothing to dispute it. Now, I know that the cadaver dogs have not hit on anything out there, so we know she didn't die on the property, or else the cadaver dogs would have hit on something. They're the one dog that I would probably say is fairly reliable, is the cadaver dogs, because of what they are trained to look for. I wouldn't call. Don't get me wrong, I love doggies and I think they're brilliant and they've got better smell and hearing than us, but I wouldn't call scent dogs as reliable. Sorry?
They can have bad days too. They're subject to them as well.
That's right, because they're just doggies, just like we're humans. But I think scent dogs are a little bit less reliable because other factors come into it with the scent dogs, like how many people have already tromped all over the property that messes up the scent and covers the old scent with a new scent and things like that. So there's different types of scent dogs. There's scent dogs who will sniff the ground and the plants to see if there's a scent on the physical flora around the area, but there's other types that sniff the air. So I don't think they're quite as accurate as drug dogs. And well, actually, I'm starting to think twice about drug dogs these days. Totally different story, but cadaver dogs are trained completely different to those type of scent dogs. So
right,
I think
and then you also come across the dogs that are multifaceted, and they're trained in more than one skill. And when they're trained in more than one skill, the quantification for error it does, no matter how much you like it or dislike it, when you add more job descriptions, yeah, there's more error, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing real quick. Tennessee Shine, I think her name, she raised a very good a point in the chat, and I can't find it now. What she said was that Dobbs. Now Dobbs is the neighbor that lived. Well, let me pull him up. Are you familiar with Dobbs?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let me turn this off because I don't want to spoil what we got going here. So let me
Dobbs
turn that
is
off.
the Pied Piper, right?
Dobbs is the guy from Georgia who came up to buy a piece of property from realtor Joey Hahn. Right?
Yeah, sorry. JD. I'm with you now.
JD.
Sorry.
Right? So,
and on the case, I just want to reply to her comment, or his comment, whoever on the case is. I would disagree with you there, because Don's boss has actually written a message to SHIIII to give him the alibi that he was at work all day. Now, we know that his job site was 40 minutes away from home. And so we're talking about he had to be 40 minutes off the job site, 40 minutes getting back to the job site, and then at least an hour in between. So you're talking about 86 and 8 50. You're talking about nearly 2 hours off the job site, and he's going to be missed with 2 hours off the site. And everybody that SHIIII spoke to said, no, he was there all day. There was no 2 hour gap where he went missing. So that, to me, that is a rock solid alibi.
Yeah. And again, you haven't had anyone and refute that. So here, I want to pull this and kind of get you caught up to speed, Aussie, on so Mr. Dobbs, unfortunately, Dobbs possesses at least a few of the things that potentially our actual abductor may own. He owns a red truck, and he was in the area with that the day that she went missing. In fact, he was on Ben Road 16 hours, 10 pictures on foot in the forest, 16 hours before she was called in missing. Now, what's interesting about Dobbs is, let's see here. Does this got it? I'm looking for. Well, this is the route. He was 22 minutes from the roadway end to Ben Hill Road. He was 22 minutes away, and he didn't have per se an alibi, what you would call a real strong alibi, seems as he was with himself and just his dog. And then again, when it comes to the dog, there was a bit of miscommunication in regards to what he was posting about the dog. So what I want to show you real quick, I played an audio the other day, and due to the nature of the way I had to play it, it was in very, very bad quality. But what I have here is, that's not it. Oh, it's on my right here. So there was a convo that was butt dialed from Mrs. Dobbs, Jackie's wife. She butt dialed someone with her phone, and then this person got the phone, and they listened to it, and you can hear Mrs. Dobbs making comments about making her horny. This person, we've cut that off for their anonymity, but they went on to ask, what was this? Yada yada yada. I have to send it to the LE, and then it was just sort of like, yeah, please disregard. And then they went on to say very odd and why the flower. You understand, Jackie is I don't agree with main suspect, but he is a person of interest He isn't taking this seriously at all. And then she went on to identify that they were 4 o'clocks, the flowers. So this is strange.
Stop.
Here.
What's the 4 o'clock? Stop. What's a 4
That's
o'clock flower? I don't get that.
It's the name of
is
the
it like a
flower,
daisy or
species
something?
whatever.
Okay.
Now,
Weird.
Yeah. Now, let's real quick. Actually, let's with the victim, the suspectology, and then we'll get to the fringe stuff. So, what suspectology is in regardology is, and this is where we're at now. We did assessment and profiling. In criminology, is the study of a crime and criminals in a social setting. Pretty explanatory. What suspectology is in regards to psychology, it's concerned with the individual with interest in the person's interactions and thinking processes.
Good night, Lizzie.
Good night, Liz. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you in the morning. What suspectology is in regards to murder investigations is the pursuit of the who, what, when, where, and how. Other times known as the why. Can be very difficult, elusive, and problematic due to criminal sophistication, lack of evidence, or victim selection. Now, if this were to ever turn into a murder investigation, or in regards to any other murder investigations, these are things that they're sometimes designed into a particular offense in order to make them hard to apprehend. Now, what I see in regards to, and I want to give Aussie a second to talk about this. Aussie, what do you feel like the level of criminal sophistication is with the Wells?
Well, let's just start with the crime first. They've left not a fucking drop of evidence, absolutely nothing. So the crime is highly sophisticated. As far as the Wells go, I just don't think Candace and Grandma have the wherewithal to be so perfect at hiding a body. You know, it's just not. I just don't see the intelligence factor there. Like, when you want to look at like an intelligence factor, look at Chris Watts. You know, he's extremely switched on, intelligent, smart. I'm pretty sure he's got a degree under his belt. I can't remember what his education level is, but
yeah,
very self-aware, very smart. And he had that crime plan. If he had not said that he done it where the bodies were, no one was finding those bodies in that well, in those oil tanks. No one was finding those bodies out there in the middle of nowhere. No one was even going to look out there because he wouldn't have been a suspect. So
he actually did
so
the right
well
thing after doing the wrong thing. You know, that's actually what happened there. He just, go ahead.
He would have probably been found guilty, even if he hadn't admitted to it. He still would have been found guilty on all the other evidence, and that is the cadaver dogs hiding in the house and the blood on the mattress and so on and so forth. He still would have been, I'm pretty sure he still would have been convicted. But the looking at the sophistication of the way he did the crime, he's still fucked up. He still made mistakes. And do I think Candace and her mum have that level of sophistication? No, I don't. And I don't mean that as an insult. They're just country folk, you know, out here where I do with a bunch of country folk. And I know the mentality really well. You start talking about, you know,
in this setting, them not being criminally intelligent or sophisticated is very complimentary. You know, you don't look good. You don't start looking good for shit that you didn't do.
Right. Right. And when you start thinking about the level of sophistication that CM seems to be picking out somehow, I mean, I just don't see it, you know. I just don't see it in Don's makeup, you know, like I understand I understand his language and his defensiveness. I even understand why he's being defensive. If Chris McDonough is going to say he has no reason to be defensive after all the fucking shit that's been said on the internet and all the horrible, nasty messages that they've been sent, where all they're trying to do is keep the word out there for summer.
Facts.
And Chris is like, well, why is he also defensive and getting upset at me? And
because his daughter's missing.
I'm just flabbergasted. Yeah, exactly. I'm just flabbergasted that he would even think that to start with. Like all those years of goddamn experience, and he doesn't understand that people are going to be defensive when someone like him is there attacking.
Like, exactly. Like
he's going.
And let me piggyback on that. You can see, or else he, at least CM wants us to believe that anytime he speaks about his son that's passed on, he looks still very emotional. All these years, he's still emotional about it. So it really stands to reason that CM is he's fully aware of the all the emotions and the activities and the behaviors that they're going. He's went through them too. So you start to wonder, why isn't there this kinship in the loss of a child at the very least, right?
At the very least, right. And he's not doing that.
No.
And the fact is, he does come across really fake. Like the whole conversation with Don. I mean, Don was already onto it because he'd already seen him do the whole fake thing with Candace interview.
Well, what do you mean?
So Don was already onto it.
What tell me what then? That stuff, yeah.
He already knew he was going to be fake, and so he went and did it, and then he was fake, and so Don had a go at him for being fake. So, but I picked up his fakeness, you know, like if someone started talking to me like that, like, yeah, brother, I know what you mean, brother, and you don't even know them from a bar of soap, then I'm going to start thinking, yeah, this is weird shit.
Yeah, like he did.
There's no way.
Like he picked, he's the detective, right? He's probably the one that showed up with the fake earring and the sunglasses and the bandana on to try to do a drug deal. And, like that's, and that's just what he reminds me of. The guy that doesn't know that he still looks like a cop, right? Like he's that unself-aware, like his self-awareness and the environmental awareness and I'll tell you what's really skewed is this individual seems to have a very, he's disconnected. He doesn't understand his own projection. He doesn't understand what he's projected and who he's projecting himself as. And that starts to become a problem when you have a personal interest in seeing some of these sorts of things that he's trying to start up. When you have a personal interest in seeing it through to the end, that becomes that's what they call investigative tunnel vision. And frankly, when you venture into that arena of investigative, or whatever, tunnel vision, it is impossible damn near to come out of it. These guys still believe, even though the court and the judge and the juries and forensics have said differently, some of these egotistical detectives still believe that right and everyone else is wrong, right? That's an actuality. Very, very self-centered, a lot of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and
go ahead.
The technique that Chris uses is very out of date as well. Like the modern techniques, even now, are still only like about the 60% accuracy, whereas the technique that Chris has grown used to in his expertise, air quotes, is actually very outdated, and it has not much more accuracy than you see your TV junk clairvoyants getting on TV and acting like they can read the crowd, and really all they're doing is they're asking a series of questions to get certain indicators to move on to the next question for the next indicator. So, and that's really the technique. You can really see that in his theory that he's fishing the same way these junk clairvoyants do.
Yes, exactly. It is. It's really, there's no finesse to it. You know what I mean? It lacks a certain finesse that you would expect. I mean, you would think someone that thinks so themselves would really be crack shots. You know what I mean? Like just really have that flawless record. And unfortunately, what we have, and let me speak on this for just a minute. Aussie and I, we had discussed this privately, and we said that when it comes to things online, things can be subpoenaed and medias can be collected and so on and so forth. So when you start using stuff that Chris M has procured in the way of what he would call air quotes, you can immediately shoot a hole, I mean, with buckshot right through all of it, because he is not the expert that you want on the stand, right? You're not going to ever pay for Chris M to come on the stand because he has this history of coercing minors, and in fact was named in a civil lawsuit where he was blessed with some sort of immunity, right? So in this immunity, you want to talk about that, Aussie?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like it's a political baton at the moment, getting tossed back and forth. But it's pretty much what the Derek Chauvin trial was all about. Like, if the protests hadn't have happened, then Derek Chauvin would have got qualified immunity. No matter what he did wrong or how wrong it was, he would
Public
have
pressure called for that,
100% got
right?
qualified. Right. But when you get back to the 2004 era, which is sort of like just after they started deciding that all cops had qualified immunity, but that's what Chris got off. He didn't answer for what he did. He just got off on a technicality, basically.
Actually,
he didn't answer for it.
When you break down the technicality, essentially what it is professional ignorance. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. The technicality was a reasonable police officer may not have known that they couldn't interview a juvenile without their parent or family member present. That's the actual. I can show you the court documents.
Does he not know that?
Yeah, exactly. I can show you all the court documents. It's written in legalese, so it's easier for me to explain it to you than to read the legalese and then decipher it, because legalese is pretty hard to wrap your head around. Right.
Yeah, I just overall, I think that that gives us a pretty good point to segue into what I want to talk about next. We will get back to the rest of the rest of the subsets for suspectology, but right now what I want to do is I want to move on over and piggyback on what we're talking about in regards to the continuity and the integrity of this case, right? So in the chat below.
Yes, I've learned a lot. Yes, it is the Michael Crowe case we're talking about. Yes. Michael Crowe's family and his friends that also got charged. They all tried to sue Chris McDonough and the other three detectives. And Chris McDonough got off on a technicality. The others did to a degree. There were some things they still had answer to, but mostly summary judgments, basically. And a summary judgment means it doesn't go to a court trial. The judge just says, "Oh, here's my decision," and right at the end of it, he decided that it was qualified immunity anyway. So they all went for summary judgments, basically.
Right. So what I want to segue into here now is
say, "Hey, I defended myself." If you want to say, like, I defended myself in that case when they tried to sue me, I defended myself, then don't come at me with, I denied everything and I got let off on qualified immunity and didn't have to prove shit. That's not defending yourself. You didn't have to defend yourself. You just had the judge write you a fucking pass.
Yeah, you hid behind a get out of jail free ticket. That's what you did.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
So yeah, he didn't defend himself in that case. He just hid behind the judge's bloody skirt.
that's it. Now, guys, I know everyone in here, and I just want to take a poll just so I feel confident that I know that everyone in here, they know who Don B is. Does everyone know who Don B is?
Before you go to Don B, can I have a little vent, like a one paragraph vent?
Sure.
I couldn't watch the part 3 of Chris McDonough's upload because it was triggering. Okay, like there's a lot of us out there, but I'm a survivor as well, and he just triggered me so hardcore. I had to switch off. I couldn't listen to it, and where it bugged me was in part 2, and he held his little notebook up and he docks those girls. So he's got SA victims saying this is what happened to us, and he's got it all over freaking YouTube. That's not how you deal with this shit. You know, like, I'm not going to say it's true or it's false. I don't know either way. You know, it's not for us to say. This needs to be kept quiet and their privacy, you know, respected and taken to law enforcement to see what can be done about it. But listening to it triggered me. I was like, why would you do that?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And let me piggyback on that. And this is a fact that I'm sure no one has even thought about right now. I think that we're all fully, I think we're all fully, not fully, but we're pretty much in a majority agreement that Chris had something to do with sending the 17-year-old towards Don, right? So how we figure that out is just like playing, you know, hide and go seek. It's really simple, right? So I went over it earlier in my victimology video, is that you have to imagine a hunter in the woods. He sets a trap. Who knows about the trap? Well, just the hunter and the person that's caught in the trap. Yeah, the hunter knows. Right. So what I have to tell you is this. You know that this girl, however she made contact with Chris M., he wanted receipts, right? You know he did. And how was he going to give receipts? How is this young gal who's 17 from the UK, how is she going to give Chris M receipts, guys? Do you have any idea? Well, what she was going to do was she was going to have to screenshot her conversation with Don, in which she offered, offer is the wrong word, where she sent pictures of herself in some facet to Don. And I don't want to speculate on the photos, but I'm sure that if there's this much bullshit wrapped around this girl and whatever she sent to him, that they had to be suggestive, right? So what you have to know is that young girl that's 17, she sent all of the stuff that she had with Don to Chris. So now Chris has received pictures that he thought were questionable for Don to look at. He has them as well, bar none. Right. I promise you, he has them. He has received the materials of a 17-year-old girl. But guess what? Don didn't ask for the pictures. Chris did. Right. Chris asked for those pictures, y'all. There you go. Right. So, Chris M., you better watch your shit, bro, because let me tell you who I work with, sir. I also work with the same people you say you work with, and the initials are OSINT, OSINT. You say you work with them? Well, I work with them as well, sir. And we know all about what you got going on, sir. You've been passed those same materials. Don didn't ask for them, but you asked for those materials, sir. Moving on. Now, let me, everyone in the chat, I see that I missed it. Everyone does know who Don B is, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few things in regards to Don B. Now, we will start with this one. This was last night, guys. I know everyone has seen this. And I immediately commented on it. Guys, I just received some very disturbing information. I am having a hard time keeping my composure right now. I am contacting the TBI first thing in the morning about this. So I so badly want to share it with you, but I can't. I don't think I will get any sleep tonight. Well, so if this was still a living, breathing thing, all through the comments, what you saw was, dude, what are you talking about? Why are you putting this online? And secondly, which should be firstly, why are you waiting until the fucking morning, sir? What is wrong with you? Right? You got anything to add to that?
Absolutely. I want to know what the freaking hell he's talking about. Did everybody jump on it and ask him what the freaking hell he's talking about?
Yeah, everyone did, and he removed it. That's what he did. So let me show you the next interesting. Let me show you the next interesting piece that has come to the surface about Don B.
The lab. What's he growing? Bloody herpes. Sorry.
Maui Girl is. They are an informant for Chris M on YouTube. This is on Facebook, right? So this is Maui Girl, who is a certified informant for Chris M. You can ask Lizzie, and I don't have to go no further than that. You know Lizzie knows. Read this shit. I think Don Buchanan can't help it. He has autism. I think he cares. He used to date Hunter's mom. That's a little fucked up, isn't it? That's a little fucked up.
That's a little bit weird.
That is weird, right? And now, so this is Maui Girl. This is Chris's people. That's his people, right? Then you see this right after that, which was, where did I have it up already?
Yes, Mr. Scott. We knew that.
What's that?
Miss said Maui Girl is a St. Chris groupie.
Absolutely. Yeah, so he knows too. Maui Girl works for Chris M. So why is she saying this about Chris or about Don, right? The only way Maui Girl would know that Chris has autism, that Don has autism and that he used to date Hunter is through Chris M. That's the only way. That's the trickle down. Maui knows it because Chris knows it and Chris told her, right? So I would say that this is factual and actual. But then what you had was you had a scenario where that's not it.
Let me just say, Benny, that if it's happening to me personally, you wouldn't have to dig far to find family members, like direct family members. I got stepbrothers, half brother. I got stepbrother, half brother, biological brothers and sisters. You wouldn't have to dig far to find someone to like talk trash about me. All right, it wouldn't be true, but you wouldn't have to dig far to find them. They'd be quite happy to step up and they will talk absolute trash.
We all have that in our lives.
Say I'm a drug addict. They'll say all this stuff about me. Like, what family members say about you really has very little to do with, why your kid went missing.
Always has very little. I mean, it essentially has nothing to do because let me tell you this, guys, the only time you're going to hear someone's family's opinion is at a victim impact statement, and that's all the way at the end before sentencing. Otherwise, you're only going to hear what can be substantiated as fact.
Absolutely.
Yep, you're never going to hear any opinion. They will limit all opinion, and that's a fact.
And I think that if you've got a genuine SA case, you need to take it to law enforcement. You need to keep it private. You need to keep the details private. This is why a lot of people who are speaking up against people in power are called, Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2, because it's about keeping their names out of being smeared, basically. So I don't believe that actually has a valid SA case that he is chasing, or because if he does, he's screwing it up from the get-go, because he is going public with it. He's not protecting the victims' names. He's not protecting them at all.
Yeah, no, he's already burnt up that case. If that was ever even a consideration. But we spoke about this earlier, and I spoke about it in a live earlier too, where there is, there's substantial difficulty in bringing cases of even 3, 5, 10 years from back in the future, or back in the future, from the past, because witnesses forget. Details have a change. We already know that the eyewitness description is notoriously consistent. So nowadays, in these days of technology, really, they only the reality is they use a witness's statement to corroborate what they have with technology, right?
Right.
This, and we've got a few people out here on the street, that becomes sort of the gist of it. How we use.
We're losing you, Benny. You're too far away from your Wi-Fi. Actually, I think we've lost you. Yep. Boing. So I'm just going to read some of the chat stuff out while Benny's getting his shit together. Natasha. So the fact the niece was supposed to essay by Deanne and her mum didn't contact law enforcement, she should be held accountable now, knowing a crime and not reporting it. I think they're actually, if the parents, there is something in American law, I'm not sure if it's every state, for commission, what is it? Allowing a commission of a crime or something like that. I was just looking at a case today on that. Quiz Mode Uncle says a bounty hunter with the same last name in the same area was arrested for breaking into a home holding a 15-year-old girl. Whoa, and not no. Wow, that's hectic. Well, that whole area just sounds like crazy nuts to me. Sorry, we lost you, Benny. So I was just reading out some of the comments from chat.
Yeah, I was gonna take this time to let me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. You're back. No, we've lost you again. Tennessee Shine, yes, I agree. It's not his story to tell. I'm not going to say that it's true or it's false. The point is it should not be being aired out in public like this. It's somebody's private business. And if there is a case there, then it needs to be dealt with by the appropriate authorities, not by YouTube.
Absolutely.
To me, the SA stuff is a classic moral dilemma, like a moral panic, like throwing a moral panic out there so everyone has a moral panic. And the media, like the television media and the print media, they're very, very good at this sort of stuff. But the problem with doing that sort of stuff is that it gives people compassion fatigue. So if you're a true crime follower and you're getting triggered all the time by these moral panics, these moral dilemmas and moral panics, and they're making you panic and they're making you lose sleep at night, and you can't stop thinking about that missing child, that's called compassion fatigue.
Absolutely.
All right? So you need to check yourself. If you're experiencing these things, then you really do need to have a timeout and a good
step away.
Step away from the keyboard, step away from the YouTube, have a rest, let yourself take a break, because compassion fatigue is real, okay? It doesn't just affect first responders. It affects anybody it affects anybody involved in the community. So you need to take care of yourself as well. If you find yourself not being able to sleep at night, not being able to stop thinking about a certain child that's missing, then I think you like just take a step back and have a bit of self-reflection and a bit of time out.
Absolutely. That's a really great point, Aussie, because I even myself, I find that, when I get a free opportunity to, I can pick, oh man, you can go for a run, you can go for a drive, you can shoot hoops with the kids, or you can go on YouTube. And that seems to always be the first, the first go-to move. I have to admit that it's, you become synced with these things, and your emotion, your empathy just kicks into high gear, and next thing you know, you're obsessed. I mean, it is a true, actual obsession. My obsession is not with making sure that we can hold down over the fire. That's not my obsession. My obsession is to make sure that the age-old amendments and rights to
Good
have
night, honest Rage.
clean trials and all the jazz, like that is equally as important as finding a missing child. I mean, you see scenarios where the military will sacrifice many to make a statement, and that's sort of the way that the law, they're you have to sacrifice some to protect the many, right? So there's a lot to be digested, and there's a lot to be heard still, and mainly what we've heard so far is all speculation and opinion, right?
Right. So what you want to do, you really want to be able to do is help people. You want to help find missing kids. You don't want to get to that point of compassion fatigue where you lose compassion for the victims, the families, the people who it is affecting. You want to be able to help find the child. You don't want to help find a perpetrator. You want to help find the child.
That's it.
And that's where I think a lot of these they get mixed up in they've lost their compassion for the victims, and they're just out there to put heads on pikes, basically. I get it with Chris. He's been doing it for a long time.
I don't own no handcuffs. So in the event that shit goes sideways out there in Tennessee, and if I was there, man, I can't handcuff nobody. I know there's people out there with handcuffs, and that's what they get paid to do. They get paid to, find the bad guys. They get paid to, get the cats out of the trees. They get paid to do all of that stuff, right? And
right.
That's who, yeah. I mean, has anyone ever heard of the old saying, you can help somebody to death? This thing has almost literally and virtually been helped to death.
Right.
Sometimes less help is more.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
The other thing is that, I want to mention is that, so after Maui Girl made the statement, and everyone knows that's fully immersed in this thing, from the trollery all the way to the, the color of vehicles. When you're fully committed to this thing, you know who Maui Girl is. And for her to be making statements like that about Don, and then I'll post it in my community. You guys can go check it out. Directly after that, Chris went into Don B's comments and told him what a great job he's doing, and to keep moving forward, and that this is, he's doing he's fighting the good fight. Like, let me tell you what, you're never fighting the good fight when you put up shit like he put up and takes them down, right? So you got Don B taking shit down, and then you had the interview room. He took down his slandering of Robin, the Sunday school teacher. So yeah, they got a lot in common, right? They're video retractors, right. And that's the thing about these guys. Oh, they got degrees and they're such fucking intellects, but why the fuck do they believe that when they take a YouTube video down, that clears all history of it? Like, they're like, oh, you can't see it anymore, so it was never real. Like, that's really that's how they think, Hold
Thank
on,
you, Cherries. This is
Oh, go ahead.
exactly what we're saying. Cherries, you do need to take a step back and have a rest if you find yourself losing compassion. And I'll finish what I was saying about Chris. Chris has already lost his compassion. He lost it
That's it.
because he worked in that field, and he is clearly, to this day, has compassion fatigue, and bless, he wants to switch it back on again, which, you know, he seems to have like selective compassion fatigue,
That's
if
it.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so even when you see the way the interview timeline was constructed, right? So I'm gonna remind everyone that everything you've been seeing online, it has, you know, a 7 to 14 day lag on it, right? So knowing that, you start looking at the way that this thing is being played out online, and it's a complete Trojan horse, right? Everyone thinks what they're seeing is like actual, you know, breaking news, breaking moment news, and none of it has been, right? But what we do know about the construct of
Stop,
Chris's
Benny. I got to
interview.
interrupt. If we got some mods in there, boot 11 crafty cats out, and let me, before you do, just say to 11 crafty cats, this is not monetized. Benny stopped monetizing, so you're
Idiot.
wrong. You're disgusting.
You idiot. What was I
So
saying?
whoever our mod, that dickhead, go on.
What was I saying? I
I
got caught up.
forget. Sorry.
I do too now.
Yeah, I got
No
totally
worries.
sidetracked. It just
It
makes
was
me, it just annoys me when people say you're making money off children. It's like, well, you stopped monetizing a while back. People actually haven't noticed that you don't have ads anymore.
right. That's it. Look at yeah, Mr. Scott. You're right. Chris McDonough does call victims his crime scene. Um, he's no longer a cop, right? Like, do we have to keep, you know, do we have to keep pumping and pumping and pumping this, you know, this narrative back to the people that he is not a cop? And furthermore, the way that he's handling this case is not the way he would handle it if he was being paid to do it. I mean, by the county or the
That's
state,
right.
he'd be fired
Benny,
for this type of behavior.
chuck some iron at Cam.
Cam. I can't do nothing in here. I have to do it afterwards.
Oh, well, I can't do anything either. Well, chuck some at you, Cam.
Yeah, I can't do anything anyways. So yeah, you're seeing the best of the best endorse the rest of the best. And it's, you know, it is, it's a war. All, you know, we're not focused on winning the war right now. We're focused on accomplishing objectives and winning battles. And that's,
right,
you know, the best. That's the best that we can hope to do. But at the same time, you know, you have to be aware of what's fact or fiction, because again, I'm going to pump the stat to you again. We know that 84% of Americans cannot tell the difference between an opinion or a fact. Correct?
right, correct. We know what I'd like to do, Benny. I've been tossing it up for a little while now. I don't know if I will, because I don't want to really stir up too much trouble. But I've been thinking of sitting down and writing out, you know, Chris's like statement analysis with his friend there, just writing it down and then pointing out which statements that they're making, which are logical fallacies.
Right.
There's a ton of logical fallacies. There's a list as long as your arm. There's hundreds of different types of logical fallacies. There's probably about 30 of the most common logical fallacies, and you've posted a video on this. I know you've got one in your community section there somewhere. There's some of the things that they say, it removes individuality for starters. So we all know that we are unique little snowflakes, that we are all as different in our personalities as our fingerprints. You know, we don't have different DNA so that we can all have the same personalities. So
Correct.
when they're profiling, I understand that there are commonalities in criminal profiles. For example, when the face is covered of a murdered victim, okay, we know because of statistics
It means they know
that
them.
usually someone, that's right, that the murderer knew them and didn't want to see their face. But then
Correct.
we've had a couple of murders where that wasn't the case. They were just tipping the room upside down and shit ended up on their face, you know, like we know
But it
that
changes.
there are some.
It changes the methodology, though.
That's right. So the statement analysis is not entire. It's basically removing individuality and then a lot of logical bloody fallacy smashed in there as well. And if you find yourself going A equals B, that must mean C without just because Chris said it does,
Right.
then you're probably falling victim to logical fallacy. And the critical thinker will absolutely overcome logical fallacy because they're thinking critically, because they'll ask that question. You know, you can say, just because you found one cop who was dirty doesn't mean all cops are dirty. Okay.
Facts.
But if that's the critical thought, but to say it in a logical fallacy way, you say if one cop's dirty, they must be all dirty. That's the logical fallacy way of saying
Right.
it. But because
Right.
when we thinking critically, we know that doesn't mean that all cops are dirty. So
No, and it
this
doesn't
is
mean
this is
that
just
all felons are capable of killing their kids and hiding them.
right. Or all parents don't talk like they're guilty when they're being accused.
Right. That too. Yeah.
There's a lot of
It's okay to talk in the past tense when you're not fluent on when you're not fluent rather on how you should speak when your child goes missing.
right. And I'm the first person to admit if someone starts accusing me of something, I go into like not just defensive mode, but somehow feel guilty. Like what? Like what? What are you blaming me for? I actually feel like a rise of guilt when I'm being attacked of something that I haven't done. But that just could be, my own personality. But that's the thing that I'm trying to point out there is that's my individuality that their broad reaching statement analysis doesn't take into account.
Right. Yeah. It falls in between there. Yeah. I don't know, guys. That's kind of where
I lost respect for Chris when he did the analysis on the West case because he had the context. I sent it to him. He had the context that they were being threatened, and that's why their interview came across all weird. Like,
right.
they weren't just being threatened as in people sending them texts and nasty shit online. They were being physically threatened right there in the interview by a whole bunch of people. There was
Yeah. I mean,
nobody in of 30 people.
I.e.
Not a single one was a friend to them.
No, like we had Ray Sean standing right there in the front, for I don't know, 24 hours. It seemed like there were people doing drugs, smoking weed, chanting, and doing all kinds of weird shit in their driveway. Like
Locked
I don't
at the
know.
windows.
Yeah, I don't know at what point do you don't just start shooting, like and be within the rights of a shooter. Shit. I don't know, but I will tell you this. Somebody reached out, and it was, I think, the very first time they said that there's an Indian gal. She's of Indian ethnicity. And I guess allegedly she's done a 4-part tarot reading on this case. And yeah, and I only heard kind of the boil down on the 4th part, which the 4th part consisted of her making a reading where she, informed the public, her subscribers, that the spirit told her that someone was going to commit suicide in all of this. And I didn't get a context, but you know, if I know the way that it was spun, probably she's stating that, yeah, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but probably a statement like, you know, there's going to be a suicide due to guilt. Now, I do want to touch on another thing. There is a suicide awareness activist, and his channel is AB. And I want to just point out the irony in that someone that specializes and calls themselves a suicide preventionist, and that's, I think, the terminology he uses. He does the very best that he can do in order to make victims step to that ledge, metaphorically, right. and you know, physically, right? So right now we have, this case is upside down. We've got a suicide preventionist trying to push the parents of victims who are secondary victims into, you know, the suicidal crisis. That same individual is the one that's making the calls, trying to get Don terminated from his employment. So it's, you know, they've stripped the kids away. They've even dipped into
I think you're first on. Aren't you first on their hit list? Don't they want you to jump off a cliff first?
I've always been first. That's right. I always have. You know, but
we also know what they did to you, Cherry. Poor girl.
Yeah, Cherry. Actually, let's close on Cherry. That's a great idea. Thank you for that. Kero, Orin, and Orson West harassment. It's just that easy to find. Watch. That's it. Look at there. So there's our beautiful Cherry. Guys, listen to this.
Sorry for doxing you, Cherry.
This is our wonderful Cherry. I reached out to Cherry when I saw her being victimized and gooned. I mean, they just made it impossible for this woman to, and this lady here, she's in the chat right now, guys. Everyone send Cherry some love. But what I'm going to show you is this is real life. This lady's in the chat. I'm going to show you what YouTube does to folks.
And she lives right here in Bakersfield. In fact, she says she's been watching our coverage of these missing toddler brothers for quite a while now. But what she didn't expect is that she would eventually become part of the story.
I thought this was a joke. I thought it was a joke. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
But there was no punchline. Instead,
it's echoing really bad.
Sorry?
It's echoing chronic.
Oh. Hold on.
Do you want me to have a go at putting it up? See if it comes out better on my end?
Yeah, please do. I'm having an issue with my audio here.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Wow, that's so bad, hey? Type in Kero, Oren, and Orson. Harassment. Okay. Let me share my tab. Actually, I'll just wait until the ad finishes.
Hey, Alec, good evening. That woman's name is Mary Vasquez, and she lives...
Okay, hold on 1 second. Yeah, do it like that, and then I'm going to...
I haven't shared it yet. Give me 1 sec.
I'm going to pull up her video and just let it run, even though the sync will be off. I want people to...
No, it's okay. Just share my screen. Just
okay, go ahead.
You should have my screen share.
There you go.
Click on my
Hold on. There you go.
right in Bakersfield. In fact, she's been watching our coverage of these missing toddler brothers for quite a while now, but what she didn't expect is that she would eventually become part of the story.
I thought this was a joke. I thought it was a joke. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
But there was no punchline. Instead, only what Cherry Vasquez describes as torment. Thursday was when a few YouTubers, following the disappearance of two local toddler brothers, showed up at Vasquez's store in Bakersfield. Their encounter.
Hi, this is Selena again. Do you mind for a second?
The YouTubers claim that Vasquez is the mother of Jacqueline West, who they believe is involved in the disappearance of 3-year-old Orson and 4-year-old Orrin West. 23 ABC has confirmed law enforcement in previous weeks that Vasquez is not the mother of West, and Vasquez says she has no idea who Jacqueline West is.
What is it you gotta do? What do you need me to do? Apparently there's a birth certificate that has your name on it already. There's no,
birth certificate.
There's nothing on it. That's fake.
But despite Vasquez saying these claims are wrong, this is what ended up on YouTube.
This lady here that you're looking at in this photograph, we believe this is Jacqueline's biological mother.
Is in the trafficking ring? Are they targeted? Are they being used, groomed? Have they been used under the guise of witchcraft?
I'm frustrated that they're lying. They made up all these bad things.
Vasquez says she fears for her safety, as BPD has responded to several separate incidents of harassment regarding the missing boys case. On top of that, Vasquez says she had no idea that she was being recorded, though one of the YouTubers denied that.
We even showed her the phone while it was recording. There's no way that she did not know that. I have it on video.
I did not.
You hear it, guys. AB's in there, guys.
So the big question now is, Vasquez get mixed up as a potential relative of Jacqueline West. So I reached out.
Do we need to go on?
I do not think we need to go on. So
that's the general gist of it. Sorry, Terry. We went and doxed you. We're very sorry.
But you will hear now. There's one common player in there, and that's AB. AB was, of course, public. This is a public humiliation. Not only that, but it brings into question your ethics and moralities when you get caught on, United States publicated TV when you live in Canada talking about little boys being taken due to witchcraft. It really starts to diminish any sort of credibility for the rest of us, right? When you look at what happened to Cherry and you look at what's happened to Don. I used to be, before this case, I used to say, man, this is what I do on YouTube. Now I hide it from people in the real world because this is a real shit show. Now, let me tell you, Cherry was, she was fucked with to no end. They came in her house. They recorded her. They hid behind her patio and videoed her. They've even taken control over her routers for her internet. It has been non-stop.
They demanded she show her birth certificate.
Facts.
For fuck's sake.
So this is the direct result. Now, thankfully, Cherry didn't have any small kids that could have been, I think that they were out for blood. She was being threatened and she was being violated in a way that, first of all, she didn't even know. Someone had to make.
And you know what,
Cam,
just to reply to Cam's comment, you know what, Cam? It gives an all new meaning to boots on the ground because that's what they're claiming that they are.
Right. That's it. Boots on the ground. So there you go, guys. We're right at an hour and 27 minutes. I think that's a good piece. I do want to offer the link in the chat. If anyone would like to come in the chat and get your shit off, speak your piece, whatever, you're welcome. We're gonna, if we get some people that want to talk, we will go another 20 minutes or so. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up with that. I feel like that we made a pretty big dent in what's going on. We do have some other subsets to talk about in regards to the suspectology, but I think that we've made a good dent in what it looks like and what this is supposed to look like. I hope everyone was with us.
Come on up, Pam. Tell us the story. Come on up. Benny put the link in. Come on up and tell us about it.
What is it now?
Cam said he was pulled over tonight for no reason under a false stop. He wants to tell you about it. So I'm saying come up. Hit the link and come on up.
Well, Cam, if it's related to this, and maybe we need to talk, I don't know. It sounds like Amy Lou Who, thank you for checking in. Lean on Me, thank you for checking in. Cherry, we love you, honey. You know that. I'm thinking that maybe we should not have Cam talk about that until we figure out what is going on with that, because that may be something in regards.
Next one. Lean on Me
Yeah.
asked us to say, talk about cases where the suspect follows the case and maybe even speaks to law enforcement and media. Now, that was, which child was that? The one that was murdered? The stepmother murdered him just recently?
The Olsen?
He joined the search. That's the one, the Olsen baby.
Yeah, the Olsen baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she injected into the search effort. She talked to law enforcement. She did interviews. She did the whole thing. She did media interviews, the whole and she ended up being the murderer. I said that's one of those examples. There's also another one.
It's
for some reason I can't.
It's written all through suspectology that they return. It's the old epitaph. I don't know if it's an epitaph. That's probably the wrong word, but that the crook always returns to the scene of the crime. Now, they don't always, but for whatever reason, they do get that rush and a validation from seeing, the chaos that their work has caused. That's an age-old thing.
We do have the odd crim who likes to get their 15 minutes of fame. They do it just for their 15 minutes of fame. So
Absolutely.
That does happen.
I think that the Yorkshire Ripper, in fact, he returned and watched law enforcement deal with at least one of his victims that he had put under a couch in a wasteland. So it happens all the time. In fact, Jeffrey Dahmer, he spoke with some detectives about we won't go into that, but yes, it does happen. These guys, they get a kick out of dealing with law enforcement. Some of them, you even have the Long Island serial killer. He taunted the victims. He taunted police. There are a few of these guys that once you get them in the box,
he had a big friendship with the detective or something, didn't he? Didn't he have some kind of buddy thing going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these
some
guys.
Dickhead like this.
Yeah, they do it. It's some of them, they get the kick out of it, and others it's so as they can, they can keep up on the next move. Well, that's the thing that was really great about I guess you might say archaic policing, or coppering as they call it in the UK. The coppering from days old. You didn't know what moves detectives and investigators were going to make unless you had privy inside knowledge. And now, these people, they say, hey, we're going to go search this area at 7 a.m. tomorrow, and they schedule a live. And so, if you've got any sort of, if you've got an investment in a crime and you've been previously alerted that something's going to change about your crime scene, you go change it. You go moves it. You go move stuff, So there are so many detriments.
What was your question, Lean on Me? Type the question again, because we were obviously on another topic. So hit us with your question again.
And meanwhile, you guys go check out Cam's channel. Him and his wife, Allison, they created a channel called Crack the Case. Or wait, Case Cracking. Isn't that right? I'm sorry, I'm butchering that all the shit.
What? I forget Cam's channel too. Cam, type your channel name up. I'm pretty sure I hit the subscribe button, but I'm going to screw with our connection if I try to go look for it. I think Benny just knocked himself off because he's gone looking for it. Type your channel name, Cam. And I missed your question. Lean on me. I'm sorry. I apologize. We were obviously looking at something else or talking about something else. Oh, Kraken cases. There you go. Without the G on the end. Kraken cases channel. So go check that out. And when are you putting your video up, Cam? Because I've been watching it until I signed in here to talk about this. I was watching and waiting. When do we have an ETA, or are you still working on it? Oh, thank you, Natasha. Well, a lot of people comment on my accent. I love your accents.
I'm back. I don't know what I missed,
He's
but
back.
guys, go check out Kraken Cases with Cam and Allie. I expect some really cool things out of their channel. And not only that, but I'd be staying tuned for him to be doing some sort of boots on the ground stuff out there. If it's just even giving us a greater idea, understanding of the terrain there that everyone's navigating.
Yep.
So you're welcome, Cam. Please go check out Kraken Cases with Cam and Allie. I guess that's pretty much. I think that's a good place to wrap up. And if nobody wants to
Can I just end it with? Can I just end it with getting everybody to whiz over to your community tab and have a look at we're working on for the petition.
The petition.
Like at the moment, the wording's petition, but we're expanding that as people sign the petition and put their petition. I'm including all of your comments that I can in your petition body, so that will get updated. But go over and have a look at community tab and check out the petition text. And if there's something you want, please put a comment there, and we'll make sure it gets put into the petition. So the more brains behind what it is that we want. So the general idea is we're talking about the problem, and then we're talking about the solution, and that way we can come up with a cure. So right now there is sort of like a very short paragraph on cure. We're going to expand this so that we're identifying the problems. So if there's problems that and we haven't included them, type a comment on Benny's community channel post. If there's any solutions that you come up, you think that might help, let us know solutions, and or go and sign the petition and hit us up there and tell us what you think there. So we'll be working the next couple of days. Benny hurt his throat morning, so there was a few things that held us up from doing this plan last night and then this morning, and it's sort of a stop and start. And at the moment, Lizzie's up the mountain reception, so we want her to. This is sort of her little baby, so we want like okay that this is the direction that she wants to go. So Lizzie, I probably should have said all of this a lot earlier while she was still here, but oh well.
Oh, no worries.
I guess she'll watch it over and hear it then.
Yes. Let me also tell you guys, Friday, I have a special guest that's going to come on. I think we'll be on 7 o'clock Texas time. It'll be 8 o'clock East Coast time. I have a gentleman coming on by the name of TJ, and he has 30 years work in family reunification, custodial family reunification. And we're going to have him come on and talk about the dynamics of family reunification, the type of services that children would typically see in periods away from the family, just so we can get a greater understanding of what the three boys are going through. And not only that, but just any situation you might be proxy to in the world that has children away from the families. So this is also just to pump some hope back into Don and Candace and in the community that's worried about the boys. We just want to let you know that reunification is the end game, right? So we want to have this gentleman come on and tell you that how beautiful reunification is, and that it happens every day and that it will happen. So his name is TJ, and he has been doing great things with the families out on the East Coast. Again, he started doing this work because accumulatively, he was caught in a situation with an ex, a mother of his child, and in the past 23 years, his daughter is 30, I think, and in the past 23 years, he said he's had 7 minutes of custodial time with his daughter, and so that started his plight to work in this field of family reunification. So I'm really looking forward to that. I know TJ is too, because he like I and like the rest of us, we want our voices to be heard. So be looking out for that on Friday. I wished I could get him in earlier than that, but he is a busy man. He's actually working with quite a few families right now, and the earliest I could get TJ was Friday evening. So I said, man, do your work, do whatever, you save the lives you can this week, and get me Friday after you're all done with your business. So we'll have Mr. TJ on Friday. But yeah, guys, please jump over and check out this is the framework. When we speak about framework, this is the framework that we're wanting to adopt. Something in this arena or this itself. We want to make sure that it's a community deal. But this is actually what the law would pertain to and how it would actually mechanically work. So, and really what a lot of this is just a play on what's already out there. And of course, some of it is, well, the very first one is it's to encourage law enforcement to enforce the laws that are already available, that they are lax on. So if we create, this framework, hopefully this kind of ties it all together. So, I think that's probably a good spot to stop. Tomorrow we will pick up the rest of our suspectology. I apologize for not taking that all the way to the end, but I think it was a good meeting with all of us. And I again appreciate Aussie every time she comes out. Tomorrow we will have I think we'll have Cam on tomorrow probably, and I know we'll probably have Aussie again, and I know that Lizzie, she plans on coming up. She's got some stuff that she wants to talk about. Meanwhile, guys, what I'm trying to obtain, and I want to reach out. Go ahead.
Can you not, when you end the stream, can you leave it running so that Cam can come in and have a chat with us? Or start another one so we can have a group chat.
Yeah,
just so we can have a quick chat.
Yeah, I could probably go another 15 minutes after we conclude this. So we can, hurry up and get that knocked out. So I guess, guys, we will conclude with that. Melly Mel, always nice to see you here. Amy Lou, thank you for coming in. There's a prayer vigil tonight, tomorrow rather, 6 to 9. Let's see. I can't move the chat. Cherry, thank you for allowing us to use your situation as a model for what is typically going on and currently going on with what's in regards to this case anyways. So Aussie, if you'd like to say anything in closing.
No, that's good. I'd just like a quick catch up with Cam before you go so we can organise the next live with him.
Sure, that'll work. I guess, guys, you know I love you all.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
If you didn't hit the like button or the dislike button on the way in, please hit it on the way out. If you're not subscribed, please consider it. We do have 2 tiers of a membership available. We have the gumshoes, sort of, and the unit elite. If that's how you wish to financially support the channel, you can do that by being a member. In the meantime, in between time, let's remember, guys, that the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Everyone, keep your head on a swivel and stay safe out there. Till tomorrow,